Imagine you stand on Senlac Ridge, AD 1066, and the hill does not feel like history. It feels like a ledge with a drop that waits for one wrong foot. You see shields jammed tight, edges kissing edges. You feel the strap bite your forearm. Your throat dries. Below, the world moves in armored pieces. The storm climbing the slope is William's host. The minute England breaks is not a metaphor. It is a sound you hear. Imagine the line around you, men packed so close the breath of the next man warms the side of your face. You see his beard matted with old sweat from another fight, another march, another night with no true sleep. You feel the ache in your calves that never leaves after Stamford Bridge. That battle still sits in the joints like a bruise you cannot touch. But there is no time to be injured. Therefore you stand. Therefore you lock in. You see a runner stumble along the ridge, boots slipping on trampled grass. He pushes through the press of bodies, lips cracked, eyes too wide. You don't hear every word because the line is already loud, but you catch the meaning. The North burns, the last war is not even cold, but this new war is here. Your mouth tastes like cold ash, the taste of old exhaustion. Your hand flexes on a spear shaft and the wood feels slick even before blood touches it. A normal day dies in a hiss. You hear arrows testing range. Not a heroic volley, not a clean signal, just probing, like fingers searching for a weak seam. You see the first shafts climb and then drop. Some strike the ridge with a soft, ugly thud. Others slam into shields like thrown hammers. You flinch anyway because your body listens faster than your pride. You feel the vibration travel through wood, through arm, into shoulder. Someone laughs too loudly, trying to make fear sound like a joke. But the laughter snaps short because another arrow finds a face somewhere down the line. You smell the first rush of panic, sweat turning sharp, breath turning fast, a man beside you whispering a prayer that does not finish. But the ridge holds because you hold. You lock your shield edge to the next man's. You become one creature, one wall. You feel that change, the moment your body stops being only yours. Your elbow cannot swing free now. Your feet cannot dance. The wall gives safety, but it also steals options. Therefore, every decision becomes heavier. Then you hear it, hooves. Not distant thunder, not romantic drums. The first cavalry charge is the violent math of weight and speed. The ground trembles in a way that does not care about courage. You see the slope below churn as horses gather themselves. You feel your knees react, tiny involuntary bends as if the body prepares to fall even while the mind screams to stand. The Normans come up like a moving fence of iron and leather. You see pointed helmets, long shields, bright bits of metal flashing as arms rise and fall. You see lances angled, not straight at the sky like parade, but down at you like an accusation. A shout cracks along your line, hold, hold, because if the wall breaks, nothing behind it matters. Your jaw clenches so hard your teeth ache. You taste old bread, maybe, and grit, because you chew what you can and spit what you must. The first impact arrives. You feel it more than you see it. A horse hits the shield line and the wood shudders. The pressure is enormous, a living battering ram straining against you. But the slope steals the horse's advantage. It cannot fully climb into you. Therefore, the wall absorbs the blow. A lance skids along shield rims and scrapes with a scream of wood against iron. Someone yells in pain as a point finds a gap. Someone else yells because the sound of pain is contagious. You stab downward because there is no elegance. Your spear searches for horseflesh, for a shoulder, for a throat. The shaft jerks as it strikes something hard, male perhaps, and slides. You adjust, twist, drive again. You feel the shock in your wrists. The horse below screams like a breaking gate, a raw animal sound that cuts through human shouting. It flails. It falls. The rider tumbles, and for a heartbeat you see a face under a helmet, eyes wide, just a man, not a monster. But then boots and hooves and blades erase that face. You smell dung from the horses, hot and sudden. You smell iron, too, the sharpness that arrives before you even see blood. The line holds again, but you do not feel safe. You feel used. Your arm burns. Your shoulder numbs. Your shield is now a door you cannot drop. If you let it slip, the man next to you opens like a split sack. Therefore, you keep the strap biting. Above the shouting, rumor spreads like fire, faster than arrows. You hear it before you understand it. The Duke is dead. The Normans falter, someone says. Their leader falls, someone insists. The words run mouth to mouth, changing shape. You cannot see William from here. You see only helmets and horses and chaos. But the rumor works on your chest like air. Suddenly breathing feels possible. Men shout victory too early. Men lean forward. A tremor of hope runs through the wall. But hope is a blade that can cut the hand that grips it. Therefore a counter-rumor explodes. He rides again. Someone swears they see him lift his helmet, show his face, shout that he lives. You don't know what is true. You only know what your knees feel when the ground trembles, and what your ears hear when the enemy keeps coming. The fog of war is not a poetic phrase, it is a blindness made of noise. You have no map, only breath. You watch the slope because every mistake happens on the slope. Your eyes flick left, right, left again, checking the seams between shields. You see men you know, farmers, townsmen, hardened housecarls with axes that look too heavy to lift, yet they lift them anyway. You feel a kind of grim pride. This ridge is home ground, and your feet know it. But the body keeps a ledger of costs. Your stomach twists with hunger. Food is a memory now, not a relief. You chew something hard, bread, maybe, and it tastes like stone. You spit grit because the ground is in everything. Your lips crack. Your tongue feels too big for your mouth. Therefore, every shout steals water you do not have. Scouts push through at intervals, faces streaked, voices hoarse. They bring conflicting counts. 10,000? 15? More? Someone claims the enemy line stretches farther than the eye. Someone else insists the enemy is smaller than feared. You cannot confirm anything. Your mind tries to fill the fog with fantasies because the mind hates empty space. But fantasies breed panic. Therefore, you force your eyes back to what is real. The next horse, the next arrow, the next man's elbow pressed into your ribs. The Normans attack again. This time the arrows arrive thicker, and the cavalry follows tighter. You see shafts sticking from shields like black quills. You feel one punch through a board near your hand, and the splinter slices skin. It stings, but there is no time to bleed. You glance down and see red already smearing the wood. You do not know if it is yours. A mounted man surges close, high above the press, swinging down with a blade. You duck, but there is nowhere to go. The blade clangs off a shield rim, and the sound is like a bell that rings inside your skull. You feel dizziness threaten. But the wall swallows you again, shoulder to shoulder, holding you upright even when your balance fails. Therefore the wall is a weapon and a crutch. The first Norman attacks fail. Their horses struggle on the slope. Their lines tangle in their own dead. You see bodies pile. You see riders dragged from saddles. You see arrows wasted into shields. A surge of victory rushes through the English line like heat. Men roar. Some laugh. Some spit down the hill in contempt. You feel your own chest swell. You feel the urge, sharp and sweet, to chase. But that surge is a weapon pointed at you, because victory makes you chase. A man near you lifts his shield and steps forward, eager to finish what seems started. Another follows. The wall flexes. You hear an officer shout to hold, but the words do not travel cleanly. The line is too long, the noise too thick. Therefore command decays the moment it needs to be perfect. Downhill, some Normans pull back. You see them retreat, not in orderly calm, but in something that looks like fear. A banner dips. A cluster of horsemen turns away. Foot soldiers stumble back through their own ranks. It looks like the enemy breaks. Your heart leaps. But is it terror? Is it a trick? You do not have the luxury of knowing. You only have seconds to decide whether to hold or pursue. You see men around you already moving, feet sliding on the slope, shields lifting, axes raised. They want the kill. They want the story. They want this to end. Therefore the ridge begins to leak men. You feel the wall loosen. The air against your side becomes colder because a body is no longer there. You glance and see the gap, small at first, as harmless as a doorway. You want to shout, but your throat is raw. You want to grab a man's cloak and yank him back, but your hand is tied to spear and shield. Therefore you watch helplessly as discipline thins. The Normans pivot. Not slowly, instantly. The retreat snaps into a turn like a door slamming. You see horses wheel, riders lowering lances. You see foot soldiers halt and brace. The trap springs, and the men who chase downhill suddenly face a charge uphill. The slope that protected you now becomes a chute that spills your own people into danger. Horses slam uphill into the new weakness. Spears jab. Axes swing. Men trip over bodies and cannot get up because the slope does not forgive. You hear a man's scream cut off as hooves find him. You see a shield fly free and tumble end over end like a wheel with no purpose. Therefore the gap widens. The wall no longer feels like one creature. It feels like separate limbs spasming without a brain. You press forward to plug the opening. Your shield edge collides with another as someone else tries the same. The impact rings your bones. You shove, shoulder first, forcing your body into the seam. You feel someone's blood slick across your knuckles. You stab downward at a horse's chest. The spear skids off mail, finds flesh, and the animal screams. It rears, and for a terrifying moment its weight hangs over you. If it falls onto the line, ribs crush like kindling. But it collapses sideways, taking men with it. Arrows rise in a higher arc now. You realize with horror they change the angle, shooting to fall behind the shield rims. Your protection is suddenly incomplete. You feel a punch on the back of your shoulder, not deep but sharp, like a hammer tap. You twist, expecting a blade, but it is a shaft lodged in someone behind you. The man gasps and tries to breathe around pain. You cannot turn to help. Therefore you hear suffering you cannot answer. The air fills with a new sound, arrows dropping almost vertically, striking helmets, shoulders, necks. A shield stops what it faces. It cannot stop what falls behind. You hunch lower. You raise your shield higher. But raising it opens your legs. Lowering it opens your face. Therefore every defense becomes a choice of which body part is worth losing. A shout tears through the line. The king is hit. Another voice answers, no, he still stands. You cannot see Harold clearly. You see only the effect. Men strain their necks, trying to glimpse a standard, a shape, anything that proves the heart still beats. Courage falters like a knot coming loose. You feel it in the pressure of bodies. Tiny hesitations, half steps that fail to complete, shields that do not quite meet. But the enemy feels it too. The Norman noise changes pitch, rising as they sense weakness. A horn sounds, short, urgent. You see mounted men gather for another push. Their horses foam at the mouth. Their flanks heave. You smell their sweat, thick and sour, mixing with blood and crushed grass. Someone screams for the housecarls. Someone screams for God. You scream because you cannot not scream. Your voice comes out cracked. You taste copper now. It is blood, someone's, sprayed into the air. Therefore the battle becomes intimate. Every breath is shared. A blade hooks over your shield rim. It yanks, trying to pull your defense down. Your arm jolts. You plant your feet, but the ground under you is slickening. You feel mud form from trampled earth and spilled blood. Your heel slides a finger's width. Panic spikes. One slip becomes a fall. One fall becomes a gap. Therefore you lock your knees and lean into the pressure until your thigh muscles shake. You jab with your spear, short strokes now, because there is no room for long thrusts. You aim at faces, at hands, at the soft places where armor is less sure. A man's gloved fingers close on your spear shaft. He tries to wrench it away. You pull back and the wood groans. The spear snaps. The broken end jerks in your hand like a splintered bone. You stare at it for a heartbeat, stunned by how quickly a weapon becomes useless. But there is no time for shock. Therefore you drop the broken spear and reach for something else, an axe, a seeks, anything. Your fingers find an axe haft, heavy, familiar. You lift it, and the weight drags at your shoulder like an anchor. You feel the strain in your back. You swing anyway. The axe bites into a shield below. The shock jolts up your arms. You yank it free and swing again. You hear the wet crack when metal meets flesh. You do not look too closely because your mind will seize if it stares. But you smell it, the raw, warm smell that rises when a body opens. A Norman foot soldier surges into the gap, screaming in a language that sounds like stones clattering. His eyes fix on you. You see the white around his pupils. He lunges, and his spear point aims for your ribs. You twist your shield, catch it, shove it aside, and step into him. Your axe comes down. The impact is not clean. It sticks. You have to wrench it out. Therefore killing takes effort. It is not one motion. It is messy work. More bodies push in. The wall becomes islands, as if the ridge cracks into separate rocks in a flood. You fight for a step of ground that is already covered in bodies. Your boots sink into a mat of broken shields, torn cloth, and limbs that no longer move. You feel your foot snag on something soft. You look down and see a hand, fingers curled, still wearing a ring. You try to step free without thinking, but the hand clings because the ground clings. Therefore, even the dead hold you. Another cavalry push hits. A horse's head appears over the shield line, eyes rolling, nostrils flared. You smell its breath, hot hay and terror. The rider leans down, stabbing. You swing your axe upward at the horse's neck. The blade glances off, sparks flicker, and the horse slams forward anyway. Its weight crushes into the shields. Your ribs compress. You cannot breathe for a moment. The world narrows to pressure and noise. You feel the line buckle. A man to your right goes down. His shield tips. A lance slides into the opening. It finds his throat. The sound he makes is not a scream. It is a wet gurgle, surprised, like a cup spilling. You feel something hot splash your wrist. Therefore, your body learns, instantly, what failure costs. You try to step into the space he leaves. But someone else tries to. You collide. You shove. You curse. The enemy does not wait for you to cooperate. A Norman soldier wedges in, using the chaos like a knife. You see his grin, quick, savage, then it disappears under the swing of an English axe from behind. The axeman roars, triumphant, but he overextends. His foot slides. He falls forward. But falling forward on this slope is a sentence. Therefore Norman hands seize him. A spear jabs. A blade rises. His roar becomes a choking sound. Arrows keep falling in that cursed high arc. A shaft strikes a man's cheek near you. It pins flesh to teeth. He drops his shield to grab at it, and in that instant another arrow takes him under the jaw. He collapses, twitching. His shield clatters, leaving another open seam. Therefore the arrows do not just kill, they create doors. You hear shouting farther up the ridge, something about the standard, something about the king. But the words break apart in the noise. You cannot see the center. You cannot see the banner clearly. You only see men turning their heads, and that turning is dangerous. When eyes leave the front, blades find the side. Therefore attention becomes armor. A rumor slithers again. Herald stands, herald falls, herald stands. The uncertainty gnaws more than hunger. Your chest tightens because if the king falls, the story ends differently. But you do not know. You only know the man next to you breathes in ragged pulls, and every pull sounds like it might be his last. The Normans press harder. Their foot soldiers shove with shields. Their cavalry probes for another opening. Their archers keep the sky busy. You see coordination in their movement, signal and response, because their leaders sit high and can see. But on this ridge, you see only what is in front of your face. Therefore you fight blind while the enemy adjusts. You feel your forearm cramp. Your fingers numb around the axe. Your shoulders scream. You want to rest for 1 second, just one breath without danger. But you cannot. The moment you stop, someone dies. Therefore your body becomes a machine driven by fear. A housecarl surges past, taller than most, carrying a massive axe that looks like a door on a stick. He swings it in a wide arc. You see it take a horseman off the saddle in one brutal sweep. The rider flies, lands wrong, and does not rise. The housecarl bellows, but an arrow strikes him in the side. He stumbles. He tries to keep swinging. Another arrow hits. His knees buckle. He drops, still clutching the haft as if it is the last thing anchoring him to this world. But the ridge cannot mourn. Therefore you step over him. The decisive minute arrives not as a clock tick, but as a sensation. The line no longer springs back after a hit. It absorbs and stays dented. You feel it. A shove comes, and instead of resisting and returning, the wall slides. A foot goes backward. Another foot follows. The slope that once gives you advantage now begins to carry you where you do not want to go. You see English feet stepping forward in one place, chasing a retreat that might not be real. You see English feet stepping backward in another place, giving ground to survive. That contradiction tears the wall apart. The Normans exploit it instantly. They wedge in, split groups, isolate men. You see a cluster of English fighters surrounded, their backs to each other, shields up, axes hacking. They fight like a small island against a tide. But tides do not get tired. Men do. You feel a blow on your helmet. It rings. Stars flash. Your vision blurs at the edges. You raise your shield by instinct. Another blow hits the shield, and the strap pulls so hard it nearly dislocates your wrist. You bite your tongue. Pain flares. You taste fresh blood that is definitely yours now. Somewhere close, a standard dips. You see it, just a fraction, just a wobble. But everyone sees it. A sound goes through the line like a crack in ice. Someone screams, hold. Someone else screams something like, run. The two commands collide in the air. Therefore men choose what fear tells them. You shove forward toward the dip, trying to be part of the answer. You slam shoulder first into another shield, forcing your way through bodies. You feel hands grab at your tunic, pulling, either to steady or to drag you back. You cannot tell which. The fog of war turns allies into unknowns. A mounted Norman pushes into a shallow break. His horse's chest drives into men. He leans down with a sword, chopping. The blade rises and falls, like a butcher at work. You swing your axe at his leg. It bites through cloth into flesh. He screams. His horse lurches. He tries to pull away, but the line is too tight. Therefore, he cannot escape cleanly. A spear from somewhere behind you thrusts upward and catches the horse's belly. The horse shrieks and collapses. The rider falls into the press, trapped under his own animal. Men stab down. The rider's helmet disappears under boots. The horse's kicking slows. The smell of hot blood floods the air. You think this is victory, this small pocket. But that thought lasts only a heartbeat. Because farther along, another gap opens. You glimpse it between shoulders, a stream of Normans pouring into a thinning section. The wall breaks not everywhere at once, but in one place that matters. Therefore, your small success feels like losing anyway. You hear the archers loose again. You feel the shadow of arrows pass overhead. Some strike behind the line now. A man yelps, clutching his back. He spins, searching for the shooter like he can argue with the sky. He drops to his knees. Someone tries to lift him. Another arrow hits near them. Therefore, helping becomes dangerous. The air becomes thick with breath and cries. You hear Latin prayers from enemy mouths. You hear English curses. You hear the wet slap of feet in mud. You hear the brittle crack when a spear shaft snaps. The noise is so constant it becomes a kind of wall itself, pressing in from all sides. You feel time distort. Seconds stretch, then vanish. Your arms move without instruction. Your eyes flicker from threat to threat. You do not know if reinforcements arrive. You do not know if the center holds. You do not know if Harold stands. You only know that the enemy does not stop. Then a fresh surge hits, and this one feels different. It is not just brute force. It is exploitation, like a hand finally finding the weak seam in a cloth. A Norman banner appears higher on the slope than it should be. You see it and your stomach drops. If a banner is there, men are there. If men are there, the ridge is no longer yours. Therefore, the fight becomes close and desperate. You hack at a shield. The shield splinters. The man behind it lunges. You collide chest to chest, armor scraping. You smell his breath, sour, human. He tries to push a dagger in under your ribs. You trap his wrist with your forearm. Your muscles strain. You headbutt him because there is no room for anything else. Helmets crack together. Pain shoots through your skull. He staggers. You shove him down. He falls, and bodies step over him instantly, friend and foe alike. You look up the ridge again, trying to find the heart of the line, trying to find the king. You glimpse movement around a cluster, men packed tight, fighting like a knot. A shout rises, high, desperate. Another shout answers, lower, angry. You cannot tell which is English. You cannot tell which is Norman. Therefore, certainty dies. The wall collapses further. Not like a single dramatic fall, but like a dam that develops multiple leaks until water wins. Men peel away to protect themselves. Groups retreat a few steps, then fight, then retreat again. Some stand and die where they stand. You see a familiar face, someone from your village, eyes wide with disbelief as a spear enters his belly. He makes a sound like a cough. He folds. You want to stop and pull him back. But your feet keep moving because if you stop, you join him. Therefore, survival feels like betrayal. The shouting thins in places where too many throats go silent. The silence is worse. In the thinner noise, you hear small sounds. A man sobbing as he swings, a horse wheezing as it dies, a blade scraping on stone. You look down and see broken spears, split shields, and faces you know from this morning, faces that now look like masks left in mud. You feel the ridge no longer under your control. You feel it under the enemy's momentum. You step backward again, and your heel hits something hard, a helmet, perhaps, or a skull. You almost fall. Someone grabs your shoulder and shoves you upright. You do not see who. You only feel the hand, strong, urgent. Therefore, you keep your feet. A final press comes, and it is not one grand push, but many small ones landing in the same minute. You see more Norman foot soldiers up close now, more cavalry finding purchase. You see English axes still swinging, but the swings look slower, heavier. Exhaustion dulls everything. Your arms feel like stone. Your lungs burn. You want to drop your shield just to breathe. But you cannot. Therefore, you breathe around panic. Somewhere in the crush, the rumor becomes reality for those close enough to see. A cry goes up that is not tactical, not measured. It is grief, shock, rage, raw sound. You do not know what exactly happens. You cannot confirm it. But you feel the effect like a wave. Men hesitate. Men look away. Men step back. The wall, already cracked, gives. This is the minute. Not the day. The minute. You fight in fragments now. The ridge becomes a series of last stands. You see a group of housecarls around a banner, swinging huge axes, refusing to move. Norman soldiers circle them like wolves around a wounded bull. The housecarls cut down one, then another. But arrows fall. Spears thrust. The circle tightens. Bodies stack. The banner wavers. You feel your own strength thinning. Your hands shake. Your grip slips on wet wood. Your shield feels heavier than ever, as if it absorbs the weight of the kingdom. Your breathing rasps. Your vision narrows. The world becomes shield rim, axe head, enemy face, repeat. But the enemy does not need to kill every man to win. They need to break the structure. Therefore, they keep driving wedges, keep forcing separations, keep turning the wall into individuals. You stumble over a corpse and nearly go down. You catch yourself on a shield edge. Splinters dig into your palm. Pain flares bright. You hiss. You look down and see your hand slick with blood. The blood makes everything slippery. Therefore, even holding becomes hard. A Norman soldier rushes you. His sword comes from the side. You raise your shield and it catches the blow. The impact drives you back a step. Another soldier comes in low with a spear. You twist and the point grazes your thigh. Heat blossoms. Your leg weakens. You want to clamp a hand over it, but you cannot. Therefore, you keep fighting injured. You swing your axe. It connects with a shoulder. The man falls. Another replaces him. You swing again. The rhythm becomes brutal. Strike, shove, breathe, survive. You stop thinking of victory. You think of the next second. At last, the ridge feels foreign because too many enemies stand where friends stand. You see Norman banners higher now. You hear their shouts more clearly. You realize the line is no longer a line. It is broken ground with fighting on it. When the shouting thins further, the silence arrives in pockets. You stand in one pocket for a heartbeat, chest heaving, and the quiet is horrifying. You look down. Broken spears. Split shields. A face that blinks once and stops. A boot with no leg in it. The ground is a carpet of wreckage. Later storytellers try to pin this collapse on one neat cause. One arrow, one death, one glorious charge. But from inside the mud, you know the truth is messier and more terrifying. The kingdom turns on tiny failures, gaps, rumors, angles, exhaustion. A faint flight that pulls hungry men downhill. A command that arrives too late to a corner of the line. An archer changing his arc by a few degrees. Therefore, the fate of a nation hangs on details so small they feel insulting. You feel the cost in your body first. Every bruise is a coin paid. Every dead friend is a debt that never clears. You feel the ridge swallow names. Men you share bread with in the morning become shapes underfoot by afternoon. The verdict settles without ceremony. The wall is gone. The field belongs to whoever still has cohesion. You stand, if you stand, among islands of resistance that shrink as the enemy presses. If you fall into anonymity, another body in the accounting. But the battle does not end on the hill. Therefore, the world after it speaks differently at the top. You return, if you return, to a land where law, landholding, language, and power tilt. Orders come down in new accents. Oaths bind differently. A man's claim to a field changes because a ridge changes. The evidence is not just in chronicles. It lives in institutions that grow from this rupture, in the way authority organizes itself when a new elite replaces an old. Now the modern mirror rises, as sharp as a blade edge. You see a pattern that refuses to stay buried. Systems do not always collapse with a dramatic explosion. They collapse with small breaches that multiply, misinformation spreading faster than verification, fatigue making discipline impossible, success baiting people into rash pursuit, leaders relying on visibility while the ground-level view stays blind. Therefore, the question is not only about AD 1066. The question is about any moment when a community believes it is winning, but the structure that makes winning possible quietly loosens. And the real horror becomes clear. A nation does not always change with a treaty. It can change with one step downhill. So the legacy question stands uncomfortably close. Imagine standing on that ridge again, breath burning, shield slipping, rumors screaming through the line. You see a feigned retreat below. You feel the surge in your legs, the desire to chase, to finish, to be the hero of the moment. But you also feel the wall behind you, depending on your discipline. Therefore, ask the only question that matters when history balances on a minute. When the crowd surges and certainty vanishes, do you hold the line that protects everyone, or do you take the step that feels right and breaks the world?